Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What We Seek. Special effects, yay!
Bubbles.
Everything we do is fueled by our desire to learn and grow, because we believe that what we seek is also seeking us. So Yasmin and I are back with another episode of What We Seek. Today we have no dramatic intros because we're just going to talk and vibe today. It's been months since we've recorded a podcast. And in my opinion, every amazing podcast has to have a hiatus break where the hosts disappear for months and people are like, where's the podcast? So
Some people actually said that.
no, a lot of people actually did say that. So to be fair, I think
we're here on popular demand. We had
Yeah.
like 20 people approach us and be like, where's the podcast?
so many people, comments, videos. We randomly have 3,000 followers on TikTok now.
Yeah. 3,000 people on TikTok. That's insane.
Which is because, and we've stopped for months. I feel like that's, if we had kept the momentum up, I'm sure we would have had way more.
Yeah, tell them why we stopped.
Why did we stop? So I feel like a lot of it was because of me.
Yeah.
So.
But you were just busy.
No, I wasn't just busy though. Remember, like, start of the year, I got sick. Then, obviously everything that was happening politically, and then it was Ramadan, and then life kind of got in the way. So should we just get
Donna's a master manifester. She keeps manifesting being sick.
Yes, I actually really do. And I actually think this is a psychological thing that occurs when you don't want to do something, your mind will manifest illness.
Literally.
And I have manifested it with so many different things, and not just illness. Sometimes I manifest certain things happening into your life.
The world around you is a reflection of you and what you're manifesting.
Yeah. So this year I realized it so much. There were thoughts that I had for a split second, like, oh, what if this happens? Like, okay, before I got sick at the start of this year, I'm going to tell you a story. So I had a job the past year for a while, and my insurance was not the best insurance. And I was literally sitting there thinking to myself, the start of the year, I was like, yeah, but what are the odds I'm going to get hospitalized this year? And I kid you not, 2 weeks later, your girl was in the hospital for, like, obviously you know the reason, but I'm not sure I'm going to announce it to the public yet, but the dumbest thing ever. And I was like, what are the odds of that? Like, anything I think, it just happens. And I'm like, can I catch a break? Like, I just want to have a thought. That's just a thought.
I talked about this in one of my stories. I was like, I think I did it on TikTok. I was talking about this. The fact that I was manifesting being sick for a period of my life just because I wanted attention. I liked people
true.
taking care of me. Like, I would go to the hospital and notice this is where I feel most comfortable. And I like the nurses, like, catering to me, pressing a button. And, like, the service was just fantastic. And I feel like nobody at home would care enough about
in the
me.
same way.
Yeah.
You know, there's actually a thing called psychosomatic illnesses where people have no physical symptoms. There's no physiological cause, but your brain literally makes you sick. And I know people in my life who are like this. Like, they believe they can't do something. So they believe that they are weak or ill or something's wrong with them. And as a result of that, that actually happens. One of my favorite quotes by Henry Ford is, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I feel like it applies to this too, because it's like, if you actually believe you're sick, you will become sick.
Also, your idea of what love is, you end up manifesting it. Like, for some people, like, I've also noticed another thing that happens is that, like, if your idea of, like, love is bickering and just traumatizing stuff, what ends up happening is that you manifest things like this because it's love to you.
Yeah, that's so
Like,
true.
people thrive off of, like, just bickering with others, or, like, if they don't fight in a while, they feel like something is missing in their life, and out of boredom or, like, a lack of, you know, whatever it is, like a wave of life or a flow, they end up, like, causing scenarios where things are all rattled up, and in order for them to, like, they feel accomplished when they unknot things that were knotted by themselves.
No, but it's
so
actually,
they create, like, a problem. Once they solve the problem, they feel more accomplished because the problem that they created is no longer there. Therefore, they're more accomplished. So, for example, let's say everything is going really well and you're just sitting at home and you're like, okay, my job is good. I have an income. I look good. My skin is all nice. What's missing? No one's taking care of me. How could that be that I can get more attention? Okay, sickness.
Yeah, I actually think it's actually very true, because obviously no one's sitting there thinking like, ooh, I want to get sick today. No one has that thought.
You do that though.
No, I don't.
You sit there and you're like, how can I not go to work? Sickness. Bling, bling, bling.
No, not to that extent though. I think I never think of sickness as a solution, but your body does that.
Bro, when you called me, you were telling me, you were like, Yasmin, I swear I was manifesting it. I was like, what if I call in sick?
Unintentionally.
Okay.
Oh, and also there is power in your words. Like I notice if I ever lie about something, that thing will happen. Like, have you ever lied and been like, oh, I'm sorry I'm late. I had a flat tire. I've never done that because I know it will happen. I'm so careful with the excuses I give. Like, I like to be vague. Like, sorry, I can't come in. I have an appointment. I won't say it's a doctor's appointment because if I say it's a doctor's appointment,
I'm not
gonna
saying your intentions were to lie, but the first time that you called me and you were like, Yasmin, I think I manifested being sick. You were like, I was thinking that my throat is there's something wrong with my throat. And then guess what? Next week I got
woke
sick
up and I was sick. But also it's actually really funny because I've noticed this and this is actually happens to a lot of people. Whenever I'm consistent in the gym or consistently working out or consistently doing the things that I want to do, out of nowhere, I'll get like a random injury or like my back will start hurting or I'll catch a cold, even just a minor cold. And it actually happens a lot because your nervous system recognizes when change is happening and that change is really scary to your body. Your brain always kind of wants to maintain the status quo where it knows it can predict what's going to happen. So when you start going down paths that are different than what you typically do, your brain will try to manifest and attract things that keep you stuck in the exact same place you're in. So for me, a lot of the time that ends up being illness. Like I noticed this was in the past. I'm not attracting this anymore. But let's say I was going to the gym consistently for 2 weeks. Bam, like on a record, I will get sick. Yeah, ankle, back, cold, sore throat.
This problem.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'll get sick. And and it sounds unbelievable to people. Like if people hear, like for example, even with work last year, the amount of times I was sick, people's jaw would be on the floor. They'd be like, this girl is definitely lying.
No, we're both master manifestors. Like I literally think of things, but for me, like, because of like, I think it's because of like my Sufi mentality maybe, but I'm very like conscious of this stuff. And the only thing that I haven't been able to beat is my lack of belief. You remember you told me like I have a belief problem when it comes to abundance and money.
Yeah.
And I told you like there is this like whole like geopolitical situation that's happening with my country. So I feel like there is so many things that are not in my hand. And when it comes to my finances, I do have like the belief that like things are not gonna flow as easily for me. So that's the only one thing that I haven't been able to like boom and change completely. But everything else, I'm a master manifestor.
I also think, because it's about belief systems, right? There are certain beliefs that are so deeply ingrained with us. And I think a lot of us have a mindset of lack. And when I say lack, it doesn't just mean financial wealth lack. It can be a lack of security. It can be a lack of love. It can be a lack of safety. And all of those things then, as a result, manifest physically in your life. Like, for example, even with you, when you say lack of abundance and maybe it's financial, it could be rooted in lack of other things, like lack of support.
But I wasn't born like this. I wasn't born with like lack in any way. I feel like I was one of the most fearless people in the world. Like I was literally like, I had dreams, goals. Like it was so uncommon for people like my age to even be so determined to achieve something. Yeah. I feel like sometimes the world happens to you as well. Like first of all, in 2008, like my father was a very wealthy man. In 2008, like all of their projects, they were like in building like real estate and stuff. And like everything just crashed. And like, it was like a huge hit for them. We're still going to court for like 20 million of our money, So I feel like that happened. And then the whole political thing happened. Iran started getting involved in like, it's not my fault my country's getting involved in like terrorist activities. And like then there was restrictions. I couldn't get a visa. I couldn't get a bank account. All of our bank accounts were closed because a lot of people were, what is it called when you steal money? Money laundering. A lot of people would come from Iran to Dubai or like other countries, open a credit card, max out their credit card and not pay for it. So they would call up all Iranians and tell them to close their bank accounts. I couldn't get a job. A lot of brands that are beauty, like then I couldn't get a job. Remember I told you that when I graduated, all of my friends got a job and I got like my application, I sent it to so many different people. I would get called in and then they would say that they love me, but they can't hire me because they can't get me a work visa because of the Iranian situation. situation. So I was like, okay, no problem. I still had a mindset that was abundant. I'm like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna maybe like freelance. It's okay. Like I'm still pretty. Maybe I can make some money blogging and stuff. Then I start blogging. I start making like money, but then big brands wouldn't work with me because of the same reasons. Like a lot of French brands, absolutely, I'm in their blacklist just because I'm Iranian.
Yeah.
So they don't work with me, and like, you know, I have the best hair, lashes, everything like you can think of, but like I can't work with brands. Then I couldn't get a loan to get a house. I wanted to move out. I can't get a loan to get a car. Everything I have to pay cash up front. And my family's been living like that for like 8 years, where we pay everything cash up front. Like, how much can you do that for? You know what I mean? How long is that sustainable for? So I feel like my lack mentality comes because the world happened to us. Like, it wasn't something that like was overnight. Every time how many times have I wanted to open my own brand and I can't get like a license because I'm Iranian? So you know all of this stuff. Like, I need to have a local partner, and like, you know, I've always looked for like you know, while she was like sick and stuff, I was working on, I want to start this like brand that I've wanted to start since I was 12 years old. And now that I'm finally, like, my whole blogging story started with me helping women, and my friends who are local, like they would all get like married at like 16, 17 to their cousins. 2-3 years later, they were all divorced, unfortunately. Then they would call me up and be like, hey, listen, like, you're the only one out of us who is not like from a conservative family. Your parents are actually cool. Why don't you like model for us, and we'll start like, we'll shoot you, and then one of us will like make the abayas, and we'll like start something together. So I ended up like becoming a blogger through helping local ladies like here in Dubai start their businesses. They would sell earrings, jewelry, and I would model for them. And you should see my pictures. They were the worst thing ever. Like, they were all at home.
You should send us, like, we should do like a flashback, a throwback of like all your old pictures and like things that you started with.
I swear, that's how I started. And it was so bad. I don't want to, it's embarrassing. I hope nobody finds those pictures. But
I'm
like,
sure if we scroll back enough on your feed.
no, I deleted them. Okay. And then I remember even, you know, Yara, that's Saudi makeup influencer. Yeah. I was one of her first models.
But, you know, I think what's interesting, like, with all of what you're saying is, like, I fully agree with you. I think no one is born with a lack mentality. We are all born as, like, blank slates, and the world inundates us with beliefs.
Yeah.
Beliefs that we can't do certain things, that we shouldn't be able to, beliefs about us being women, being equal in certain ways. And I think all of that stuff results in us not achieving the things that we are actually fully capable of.
Literally, we get boxed into categories of what is possible and what is not.
Yeah.
And then like also there is systems put in place that benefit some people more than others, but I'm okay with all the systems and stuff as long as it's like, it's just like, for me, like, I'm okay even with this. Like, when the Iran stuff happened, I was like, you know what? I can still hustle. Like, I'm still capable. I can still make it work. And now, like, I think now it's become a belief, because remember, you guys, recently someone approached me and they were like, let's do like a brand together. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is everything that I've wanted and stuff. And I felt like when I met with her, everything was well. And then this second session, I literally told you that, like, I felt like I had a lot of intrusive thoughts when I was talking to her. Like, I was literally sitting there talking to her, and I would have intrusive thoughts as if, like, I know myself really well. I would have, like, thoughts of, like, just the most random stuff to say and things like that. And I would be like, this is not me. This is not how I speak and stuff, you know? And when all of this finished and stuff, because then, like, I felt like she was, like, unwell, or she didn't like the way that I was coming along, or she didn't like my energy, but my energy wasn't even my own. I felt like something, like an outside force is, like, ruining this for me, or something like that. I don't want to say, like, it's some evil force or something, but it was literally maybe my own intrusive thoughts, or maybe my lack, or whatever I created in the universe. Let's say I created like a Yasmin that's like a version of me, like in Rick and Morty, where it's toxic. And I just came there with like all this toxicity. And like I literally, so many lack mindset words would come to me that I feel like I ruined that opportunity for myself.
I think because you're really self-aware, you notice it. I think people don't notice it in real time. When you're self-aware, you are very conscious of the thoughts you're having and you're able to identify what's an intrusive thought and what actually belongs to me. But in that moment, you were noticing those intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's really hard to actually physically stop yourself from saying those things. This has happened to me before.
Yeah, I noticed the crash, but I was still crashing.
Yeah, it's
I
like
couldn't
you
put the
see it
brakes.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it. But I think it's because a different part of your mind and your body is literally taking over. I mean, we've talked about the subconscious
It's like
mind.
the autopilot.
Yeah.
I was on autopilot. I was like, suddenly all of these intrusive thoughts are coming. I'm listening to them. I want to stop it, but it's not happening. And I told you, so with the whole like this like brand thing that we wanted to start, like I'm still looking for a partner, and I put it out there. I was like, listen, even I felt like the people that I attract in my life are always a resemblance of me. And this girl was very intuitive. She was also INFJ. INFJs are so hard and rare to find. So I feel like she was also intuitive, and I could feel our energies in the room together. And I knew she was backing away as I was like, my intrusive thoughts were coming. She was getting more protective over her halo and stuff. And then this same moment she texted me, both of us were thinking the same thing. And she was like, let us like, pause for a little bit and see how this will go and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though nothing wrong happened, it was just the energy in the room that wasn't clicking, right? So then later on, I remember when I heard that, like the crash of it. Remember when I called you, I was crying. I was like, I've been working so hard. I really want to do a brand and nothing is really happening for me. Like, what is it, like my lack and stuff? And I kind of mourned that opportunity, but I left it to the universe, right? And then she came to me and she was like, listen, I think it's best that we don't do this together. And when she actually told me, I was very fine with it because I had already mourned it. And I think when things like this happen in the universe, like I put it out there in the universe, I was like, I want to do this. So let the best person or what's best for me come my way, right? That's really nice when it happens like that and you just kind of like surrender. And I love this act of surrendering. I'm not saying like, remember when we're talking in the other podcast, I was like, oh, I love surrendering. And people think that I just walk around and I'm like, surrender this, surrender that. But it takes a lot of hard work. Like it takes you actively practicing those thoughts. And you have crashes where you like, like when I cried and I called you. And then the next moment when it happened and it was already done, I was okay to let it finally go, and I didn't have any feelings about it. It was just in that moment where I felt like the energies are not transitioning the way I want them to, and I feel like that's only because we want to control every situation. It's
true.
Our control over things, because like I know this brand will happen because I have it in mind, right? I've already put it in my mind. And when it comes to like, this like not being able to like break and stuff or like pause for a moment, even though these thoughts are coming and you're about to crash and not being able to put brakes on, I feel like it's because you're an autopilot. And like the same thing happens with my family. I told you, like, I want to stop interfering in some of the things that they're saying and not get so emotionally involved when my family is talking in the room or like they're in the house. And I know it's the wrong thing because I don't want my energy to be involved, but I can't stop it.
Yeah, but I do think there are certain things where it's easier to take control over yourself. And there are certain things that are so deeply conditioned within us that they become automatic habits. So in the case with situations and things that occur with your family, because you've been going through this your entire life, there's a certain level of compounded interest that comes with those beliefs and those patterns. So they're much harder to break free from.
What's the interest?
So you know how if compounding interest is like in a bank, if you put money in a bank, credit cards,
okay, but
for example.
in my situation, what's my compounding interest? I like that word.
Well, your compounded interest in your case would be all of the beliefs that are passed on to you by your family. And your struggle, I think the way that I see you is you're someone that likes to resist. You don't want to maintain the status quo and continue a life that is not truly yours. You don't want to live in their belief systems and in their patterns. So for you, because you try to resist, what ends up happening is like, it's like you're pushing it away from you. And
but
it's
it hits me harder.
Pushing. Yeah, and it hits you harder. It's literally like an elastic band that you pull.
Yeah.
Back into your face. And that happens with so many people. I think nobody realizes it because, again, something I wanted to talk about today that I think is really interesting. A lot of us now, because psychology is so accessible and therapy is so accessible to us, we know so much about ourselves and we're all so self-aware, but we don't know how to actually change behavior. So like,
Yeah.
it's like we're stuck. It's like you're paralyzed with all of this knowledge. It's like, you know, every single thing, you know why your family is acting that way. You know why you're acting that way. But then it's like, okay, what do I do with that information?
Yeah, true.
And it's like, you're stuck.
I was watching this girl on TikTok and she was saying that exact thing. And she was like, when it comes to dating, I know so much. I wish I was dumb again.
Yeah, because it's like, why? I don't
Yeah.
want to know that every single thing a person does is a red flag.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to be ignorant again.
Yeah,
And like,
because when we're teenagers and we're ignorant, life was just going our way. Like, you know, when you're a kid and like
Yeah.
everybody's toxic around you, you're like, whatever, let's just keep
Yeah.
going on. And I feel like we need to bring that mentality back, because it's good to like be self-aware, but like too much awareness restricts you and you act
Yeah.
like that restraining band.
no, self-awareness can be crippling, especially when you're not given the right tools that you need to actually change, right? So there's self-awareness and then there's behavioral change. And there's a line that connects them both, but we're all over here full of so much self-awareness and a crippling inability to do anything with it. And it
Okay,
feels
what can I do
paralyzing.
like in my situation?
I think in your situation, you handle it well, though. So I think what you do is really powerful, right? Because they always say that there needs to be space between stimulus and action, right? So your parents are triggering you and you want to respond in that moment. You want to be like, no, that's not correct. What you're doing is wrong. And I'm the same way, right? But there needs to be time in between the stimulus and the response. So you don't in that moment go and say everything you want to say. You sit with yourself. You think about it. You think, okay, what are the good things that will come out of me engaging? What are the bad things that will come out of me engaging? Is it worth me putting my time and effort into this? If the answer is no, then you remove yourself from the situation. But I think where it's really hard is when intense emotions get involved and you get frustrated. You're going to want to respond.
I'll tell you what my thing is. My trigger is bullying. Like, for example, my dad was like talking to my mom today and he was reflecting. So in order to reflect and not take responsibility, he was blaming her for something that was not in her
power
power
Yeah.
at all. And then I feel like that's bullying. And like when I was younger, I read this Carl Jung book about like the female archetypes, and there's 7 female archetypes, and one of them is the warrior. And I basically made this PowerPoint presentation where I divided my personality to 7 pieces, and each of them was an archetype. And that's the first time me and you had an intellectual conversation ever, when I told you about the archetypes. And I told you that I have this one character called Eve, and Eve is my female warrior. And Eve was born out of me protecting the defenseless. A lot of people think I'm this bold, very like maybe brave character, but I'm more courageous, not when it comes to protecting myself, but when it comes to others. And I feel like the first time I used to be head girl, and we would have a lot of like exchange students come from abroad, and there was this like British boy who would like bully everyone, and he was like the big bad bully. And there was this like Indonesian exchange student, and he couldn't speak any English. This guy was bullying him, and the first time I ever stood up for someone, because English is also my second language, the first time I ever stood up for someone was for him, where like his mom invited me to the cinema to go with him, and then she made me cakes and stuff, and she would send cakes to me, all the time. And I feel like that was the first time that like I ever got enough courage. So I feel like what triggers me is like someone bullying someone who's defenseless and not being able to stand up for themselves. I feel like it's my duty to like defend them. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe it's because of my parents and like my mom. My mom was cheated on by my dad, and I feel like all of these things that happened in my childhood, and just seeing him do his thing and then blaming it on her where she's not enough. I feel like when I was so quiet with all those years of them going through that divorce, it triggered something in me. And now whenever I see somebody who's defenseless, I need to like defend them.
You need to stand up. That's a savior complex to a
Yeah.
certain extent.
Yeah, I have a savior complex.
But I think it's interesting because somehow I resonate to you, but I don't have a savior complex. I have I want to fix everything complex. So if I see anyone suffering and going through a hard time, I'm like, oh, how can I fix this for them? How can I make it better? And it's not necessarily when I see someone being bullied only. It's like in a broader sense of like just genuinely wanting to fix people. Like if I see someone suffering and I know that their belief systems are causing it, I'm like, okay, how can I help that person change the way that they think? But in either,
I'm the same.
yeah, I think that,
And we
very
clock it really
similar.
fast, yeah.
Yeah, you clock it really fast, and I think it can become very taxing.
And we dissect it to the point where the person is not even aware of what we're
Yeah.
noticing. We're so deep with it
Yeah.
that they're not even clocking it. And I feel like when we both go wrong is that a lot of people don't want to be saved. They just want to nag.
Yeah.
And people just want to like, they see an empath and they just want to throw up their emotions onto that person. They actually don't want to take any responsibility or do something about it. They just love being a victim. And the thing with my mom that I noticed later on in life is that my mom loves that. She wants to like someone to notice that she's the victim, but she wants to do nothing about it. And I don't have that. You know what I mean?
All our parents are like that. I think parents in general are like that. I think their generation that they grew up in resulted in that kind of system where it's like they don't know how to take accountability for their actions, and it's always them blaming the other person. And I feel like for me, for example, something I struggle with is the complete opposite. I take too much accountability. Even if it's a situation where it's like I can't fix it at all, I'm like, it's me, it's my fault, I did this.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to like a lot of my friends, when I say like when something goes wrong, I'll be like, I manifested it. They're like, you're just trying to take blame for something that has nothing to do with you.
I'll tell you where mine comes from. So when my parents were going through a divorce, my stepmom, my dad, my mom would consult on me when I was 12 as if I'm the therapist.
Yeah.
Like they felt like I was old enough somehow because I was always an old soul, and my dad would always tell me that like I feel I look like I'm a little like 6-year-old in a 10-year-old's body. And they would all consult on me, and what would end up happening is that I would always give the best advice to my mom. Like I would hear all sides and go to my mom and be like, listen, you need to get a divorce. And whenever I would tell her to like be brave and take like a step towards the right direction, she would always say the same thing. She's like, you're only saying that to me because you love your dad more and you want him to be free with the other woman. I was like, bro.
I'm like, I'm trying to save you. Like, what you doing?
I was telling her, and the advice I would give her was so much older than my age. I would literally tell her, I was like, get that money, like before it was even cool. I was like, get the money and get yourself a house and move on. And I would like dress my sister and myself up and be like, go on dates and like we'll come there and we'll like be the perfect children so the other man would like accept you and you could move on. And I would do all of these things like, you know, I would wake up in the morning, get my sister ready for school. Like I became my sister's mom as well. And I would take care of the household so my mom could just sleep in. And, you know, she would take like pills because she was sleeping all the time and she was depressed and she would go to a therapist and stuff. So I would try to be more understanding, and all of those things would get blamed on me.
But you know what ends up happening a lot of the times is like you become the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to fix everything so hard. It's like that resistance band we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The more you push something when it's not ready, it's like you're taking something out of the oven that's not fully cooked. She's not ready to actually hear or process any of what you're saying. And so it's like a cake that's like starting to rise and then it...
It's so interesting because I think that our entire generation is still not ready to hear it.
No, they're not. And they never will be.
No.
That's the thing. And it's not...
I call them the Qarz al-Hasana generation.
What does that mean?
Qarz al-Hasana in Islam is like the charity generation. Their entire belief system is charity of whatever they've heard, they've just adapted.
Very true. Yeah, because I don't think they actually want to change, and I don't think they know what real change is.
No.
There's no accountability. It's just victimhood.
They were like the nailed generation. They were just nailed into a wall and they were like, that's the way it is.
This is the way life is.
Yeah.
This is the
and we came along and we're like, let's get this moving along. This train is like stuck, you know?
Yeah, we
and
need
our
to push
entire
it.
generation, we came there as like chain breakers. We're like, this is toxic. We don't want to repeat this. And like you see our generation like split into two halves. There is some of us who are still dipping and doing it like the nails did, like the charity generation. And then there's some of us who are sitting with yoga mats in Maldives.
That's very true.
Because we all want to heal.
But do you think we overdid the healing?
We needed it.
No, but my question
We're healing hundreds of years.
I think as a concept, I think the word healing has been commodified. I don't think we are actually healing a lot of the time. I think we are kind of self-prescribing what we think healing is based off of what we hear on social media.
Look, my healing journey didn't come with social media. We're only doing the podcast now,
Yeah.
but my healing started 12 years ago.
Of course.
And that was prior. When I found a therapist, it was taboo to go to a therapist. I remember everyone would say like, are you crazy? Why would you want to see a therapist? It was so taboo to even approach a therapist, you know? You would have to be schizophrenic or like schizophrenic. How do you say
Schizophrenic?
it? Schizophrenic, yeah. Sorry, in Farsi it's like schizophrenic, but schizophrenic, and you have to like be mentally ill to go to a therapist. So I feel like with me, my healing started years ago because I noticed that I need help. I literally needed help because I had no one to talk to, you know? And then I would see the same patterns getting repeated right in front of me. And I was like, enough. Like, how many times can you be bitten by the same snake? You know, this hole has a snake in it. Why would you keep putting your finger in there, you know? And this is a Iranian saying, by the way.
That's actually very true, because I think a lot of us do that. It's like we know that the behavior is going to bring us pain and misery in the end, but the instant gratification and the dopamine that we get just by doing it in the moment overrides that. I remember I was listening to this video. I heard it last week. I'm going to put, if I can remember the girl's name and account, I will put the video. But she was saying that your brain is a machine, but it's a hedonistic machine. So it just wants pleasure. Your brain doesn't actually want what's good for you. It wants the dopamine hit of the instant pleasure you get by doing the things that are just not good for you. And she's talked about how the best way to train your mind to undo that behavior is by punishing your mind. Let's say you say, I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. and then it's 8 a.m. and you're like, I'm just going to snooze for 5 minutes. She was like, you punish yourself. You either wake up right then and there, or the next day you wake up 5 minutes earlier. And I think with a lot of things, even things, behavioral patterns that are not good for us, the only way to break out of them is to attach a consequence to the behavior. And the consequence has to outweigh the pleasure you get from doing whatever said behavior is. Because if the consequence isn't greater, you're never going to break out of that dopamine cycle. And I think dopamine is so interesting because we're constantly all on our phones now. Again, we are all dopamine addicts. We just seek pleasure. And that's why it's so hard to actually change behavior.
Take your scientific explanation of what you just said. And Sufis back in the day said there is mind, heart, and soul. You want your soul to be in charge of both your heart and your brain. So one of the things I practice, and the way that you restrict yourself and make sure that that happens, is by stoicism, which is restraining and practicing things with your nafs, like conquering the nafs, right? So we do that by conquering our nafs to make sure we say to ourselves, no, this is enough. This has to stop. So I feel like spiritually, we've been there. A lot of people, that's why I don't mind everything in the world becomes franchised and popular at some point, anything good in the world. And when that happens, especially now with like spirituality, with healing, you take yoga, for example, which is arts of just staying in one position or being a state of being. And then you take yoga, which is a state of being, you make it into hot yoga where like you have to pay $70. It's okay for that to happen because the art is becoming more popular. When things become more popular, like spirituality and healing, what ends up happening is that there is a lot of opinions that get added to it. But again, a massive wave of people are getting introduced to it. So I have no problem with this like idea of like podcasts and this, because all of us are learning from experiences here and there. You just have to shed some information and get the best of what actually helps you. You know what I mean? But I'm okay with this massive wave of thought that's coming our way. And then with healing, I feel like one of the things that I feel like you're not that you're looking at it in a bad way, but you're just like being a little bit restraining when you're thinking about this. But one of the biggest things about healing, you said that it's not like the healing itself, but it's like what you do, the behavior change. And I agree with that. But Donna, you have no idea. I feel like you do have an idea, but I feel like you have no idea how big of an impact just being aware makes.
No, I agree with you.
Bro, it takes years, like hundreds of years of people, women's behavior, men marrying other women, traumatized households. We are not healing us.
Yeah.
We're healing grandparents and grandparents. My grandmother, there were 12 kids. 9 of them were eaten by wolves. 2 of them survived. Like, really? You think like the age of internet and this modern day where we're sitting here is brand new. The internet was made like when? Like in the 90s, right? This is a brand new age. We're okay where we're at. We're doing fantastic, actually.
I'm not saying I'm not against healing and I'm not against self-awareness.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying people should give themselves credit.
My issue with the word healing and the concept of healing is that the use of the term implies that it's something that is going to change and never come back, right? Or even the word implies like healing, we're actively, constantly doing it. It never ends.
But that definition to me is death.
What do you
When
mean?
something ends and never returns. That's death. Even with death, a lot of people, when they spiritually look at it, the philosophy is that it continues. So even then, you're constantly working on yourself. If things have to just stop and end, they're gone. They're dead. And that doesn't exist.
That's my exact point. When people hear the word healing, they think they're working towards that. They're working towards completely resolving the issue. They're like, when can I be done with this? When can I stop waking up at 5 a.m. to do yoga and meditate and do breath work? Because you're not looking at it as an actual lifestyle. You're looking at it as a means to an end. It's like you go to a doctor, they prescribe medicine, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden you're cured. Without realizing that actually, no, maybe 3 days later, you might get that migraine again, right? That's my issue with when I say that it's been commodified, is it's that people look at it as like, okay, let me buy this concealer, cover everything up, everything's going to be good. I think people look at healing in the same way. They're not actually doing deep healing work. They're doing surface level healing patchwork, and they're not talking about the deeper things, which are actually regulating your nervous system.
Because if we have to look at, I agree with everything you're saying. And if we have to look at healing, I would say let's divide it into like a couple pieces. One of those pieces is, first of all, we start with awareness. Then there is healing itself. And then there is maintenance.
Yeah.
Because look, we all are born with teeth. But we have to brush it every single day. And we have to make sure that we maintain the teeth that were given to us. And nobody's born with rotten teeth. They're good, and then you rot them yourself. So I feel like with the mental state of our minds and just our inner being, we need to have some sort of maintenance where we check up on ourselves. We know, okay, this is healed, but how healed is it? And if it keeps coming back up, that means that wound is not completely healed. You need to disinfect it. You need to open the wound. You need to look deep inside it and like see where everything is at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're gonna have another episode next week where we actually dive into healing fully.
Yeah.
So actually, funnily enough, that was the next episode we were planning on doing, was what is healing. But I was like, I actually want to research this a lot more.
We want to do like a fun episode today.
Yeah.
So what else can we talk about?
I love that we were like, let's do a fun episode. And
by the way, can I tell you one thing? Let me tell you.
Maybe it is.
Let me tell you why it's not fun. Because it's so difficult. Both of us started this so that we can get over our fear of speaking in front of others. And it's so hard when the
camera's...
camera's...
afraid of speaking in front of others.
I was. But you were also like, I want to...
afraid of having certain opinions, maybe. Yeah.
So it was still public speaking. Whether it's like... Look, public speaking can also be like just being true to yourself and saying what's on your mind.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's even a difficult step to take.
True.
Especially when you come from Middle Eastern households where like most of the time you're told not to have an opinion at all, you know? And being a woman and da-da-da.
Yeah.
So I feel like I love that we're doing this, but... as soon as the cameras turn on and we know we have a time limit, I get stressed.
Same, and I start talking about serious things.
Yeah, and then like I also feel like I repeat myself a lot, or like I try to explain it in a way people understand because it's not like a natural flow.
Yeah.
And I feel like this comes with time, you know?
But I do think we did a lot better today because we didn't have any talking points or any topics.
I was
It's
still
just,
nervous. Like my throat was dry and I wouldn't like stop to drink and I wanted to speak fast.
Drink too. I'm gonna
right?
drink water.
I feel
sponsored.
like when I normally speak, like I take a pause, I think about things, I go like, and then I say something, you know?
Maybe we talked about healing and meditation. Let's all just take a breath.
With my family thing, let me tell you one thing. One of the things I'm going to do is I've noticed that I've given 15 years of my life trying to say something. And when you said, look at the answer, if the answer is no and this is not helping anyone, stop yourself.
Yeah.
I've never been able to change anyone's life, even when I was doing therapy with them. I feel defenseless and I feel like I've come to a place where the universe has taught me that I'm in control of nothing. And I've never been able to change anybody's life. So I feel like I just want to take a step back and know that the answer is always no. And that makes me free. I'm like, you know what? Let them do whatever they want to do.
Can I also say, to me, the answer is always you. When the universe...
What do you mean?
to me, what you just said, that if the universe isn't telling you can't control anything, the universe is telling you that you're the answer to everything.
Or maybe it's only you that you can control. Maybe
Exactly. But that's my point. So instead of having like a defeatist mindset of, oh, I can't control anything. No, the truth is you can control everything by controlling yourself.
Exactly. Where mine was coming from was more a place of surrendering.
Yeah, I get it.
Surrendering to the will of life, to the universe. Because when I think about the Iran situation, for example, how many millions of people are affected by this? It's an entire government. There's 90 million people. The entire region is like flustered over it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like an entire wave. If I like this Rumi's example of how life was created, and he has this poem about how God was looking into a mirror, and the eye of God got caught into this mirror, and the mirror suddenly fell and broke into a billion pieces, and those pieces are us, that we are a part of God, and only in unison or in unity, when we come together, we can be like fully God. So when I think about that, and I notice how like there is a massive portion of God that's now in an ocean of, shattered pieces of mirrors. Let's say the shattered pieces are human beings, and they're all there like getting wrapped up in this situation. Where does that leave me? Can I tell the ocean to stop and not flow in a certain direction? No.
But you can choose where you flow.
I can choose to surrender to the flow of things. Wherever this train is going, I'm okay to go that way. But what I'm not okay with is the train or that wave to suffocate me with its crash.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying, rather than necessarily going with the wave, you're going with your own wave. You're creating your own path. That is always an option. And that's why I think when you take your own power back, you determine the outcome of the things that you allow or don't allow into your own life. And that's what's powerful, is knowing that you are always the answer. If you engage, then you become caught in the storm. If you disengage, then you can stay out of it. And that's powerful.
If I was born a drop, my goal is to leave this earth a drop and not evaporate to the sequence of things.
Yeah. Because a lot of us are evaporating. We get triggered, we get angry, we get caught up in storms that don't belong to us.
By the way, I got caught up. Remember, for a month I was angry over it.
I know you were angry over everything. But that's why I always say, like, for me, I'm someone that I remove myself from situations. I don't analyze from within. I analyze from outside, where I look at things kind of objectively, as objective as I can be, and say, okay, this is happening over here. This is happening over here. What is my opinion on the subject? And do I want to involve myself? Is it going to help anyone if I step in? If the answer is no, then I'm not going to do anything. And again, maybe that's like a passive approach, because a lot of people will say every voice matters, every voice counts. And yes, driving awareness matters. But I think we live in the age of awareness. There is not a rock being turned in the world that you can't hear about on social media. And so I think we have a lot of awareness, but we don't have a lot of power to change things other than ourselves.
I'll tell you what changed. Like, I knew that I couldn't change the circumstances, but I changed something inside of me, or with me.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I decided to change, look, you know that like I'm religious, like even though it might not look like it to a religious person.
Yeah.
Okay. All of my practices with spirituality come from Islam, because historically, the way that they were brought to us, our religion was completely wiped and our language was wiped, and it was replaced by Islam. So there's only so much I can do when it comes to spirituality, because Sufism is really rooted into Zoroastrian teachings, but with Islamic undertones, it's like, let's say Islam looks at Sufism as like whatever, like witches or like just nonsensical people, because they're mystics. They're very spiritual instead of being more practical and under the Sharia law. So even Sufis are bad Muslims to Muslims, let's say. So I feel like one of the things that mainly changed with me is that I no longer want to preach Islam, because I was like, if this is where the train is going, and regardless, I'm a bad whatever to them anyway. Right? Like, let's be honest.
That to me is too broad of that's a very big generalization.
No, that's not a generalization. If I went to Iran, I would be a bad Muslim.
Oh, you mean to Iranians?
To Muslims in Iran, I would be a bad Muslim. Okay?
Because you're saying to Muslims, it means all Muslims.
No, when you're saying like, I'm not saying all 2 billion Muslims.
Yeah.
There's cool Muslims like me and you. Okay?
Yeah, I get it.
But like really cool Muslims are bad Muslims.
You mean
Me
open-minded?
and you both, yeah. If you're open-minded Muslim, you're a bad Muslim to people who are extremely religious, right?
Conservative, yeah.
Because they're conservative.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of Christians are bad Christians to a lot of people, right? And they take it within themselves to judge or whatever it is, the philosophical idea that they carry. But to them, we are bad Muslims. So I realized that I don't want to preach because regardless, I'm a bad Muslim. So one of the things that ended up happening today when I was coming here, or a lot of people have noticed, is that I don't dress conservatively anymore. I don't want to feed the train of being religious. Like I don't want nothing to do with being perceived as.
I have a question, and this is something I'm just like I wanted to say this to you for a while. See, you saying that you don't dress conservatively now because it doesn't feed, you don't want to feed into a religious image, then implies to me, why were you doing it before?
Because I was doing it for myself.
But then that means now you're not doing it for yourself anymore.
I still like, for example, when I was doing my chelles, I have to be more, and not conservative. You need to have more of a covering. Like when I'm doing a 40-day period where I'm in a state of prayer, you have to be more covering. Why? I've told you, because fabric has a high frequency. And when I want to reach and I want to make sure that my frequency goes higher in that 40 days, I need to have cloth around me, especially around your chest area where your nafs al-gharbi or your soul sits. So I do that, or sometimes for 40 days, I wear white the entire time. I was doing that because of that reasons. Abayas were something that was like very fun and girly. So I was like, let me wear abayas. Because regardless, like I don't want to walk around like I'm Jesus. I don't have that kind of clothing. What's accessible to me is an abaya.
Yeah.
But now, if I do the 40th day, I will still do that. But privately, I no longer want to show it. Because my love of God is being used as a hammer to hit someone else over the head with. And I don't want to promote that because I love God. I love creation. And I was like, okay, I no longer want to be perceived as religious. I don't even want to talk about my love of God except if it's poetry or in my, like, the books that I'm writing. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a preacher because once you get into like promotion, because I do love God, like you see how passionate I am when I talk about God and stuff, like in the last episodes and stuff. But I feel like my love of God is very different than their love of God. My love of God is almost like acceptance, no judgment, putting hijab on your nafses. I've told you this before.
But see, that's my point too. That's what the exact point I was making earlier. For example, I'm also someone that I pray 5 times a day. I'm very spiritual. I love God as well, but it's not something I project extremely outwardly because it's something that's already personal to me. And I know that with religion comes a lot of opinion, right? It's something people are extremely passionate about. So if I come and I'm extremely outspoken about something that maybe I lack knowledge in, that maybe I'm not experienced in, that maybe I do differently than others, suddenly I become the villain. And that's why I remove myself from the situation. There are certain things I prefer not to speak about. Politics is one of those things. Religion, even though I love God and I will always want to spread a positive message about Islam and our belief systems, I don't want to preach on it because that's not my area of expertise.
I feel like, is it your phone or
Yeah,
my
it's
phone?
my phone.
I feel like I understand what you're saying, but it goes back to exactly what you said in the beginning, which is I am more of a resistance person.
Yeah.
I show by rebelling.
Yeah.
And like, you know, back when I started my spiritual journey and stuff, I was rebelling the lifestyle that was around me too. Remember how I was like, I'm seeing a lot of like people and stuff. I don't like the way things are going. And I suddenly had this, like, I left and I went to Iran. I was doing research and I became more like spiritual. I feel like now I want to, I'm going through a stage of rebellion towards this.
I understand that. It's like a reawakening. And I also think it's important to
And I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to like switch.
100%. You know, there was a point, I say this, like, a lot of the times, I think religion, there's outward symbols of someone being religious, right? If you tie it to Islam or certain like belief systems, right?
And when you do that, by the way, anything that you do that with ends up becoming pretentious.
Yeah, but so this is exactly where it's going. I was like, I think any reason you do something should come from your own intention and desire to do it, not for showing it or trying to sway other people's opinions.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of those situations. But yeah.
Number one, I want to manifest a partner because I'm ready to start my business. I'm looking
When you
for
said
like
partner. I thought you meant romantic partner.
No.
Let's talk about that, guys.
Yeah. By the way, we should talk about it like on another fun episode, but Right now, where I'm at is I want to start the business. I'm actively putting out in the universe that I'm looking for a partner to start a brand with. And I want to work on removing myself and surrendering 100% completely out of any situation, even when it's so close to me. I feel like I would love to practice this art of surrenderance even further. And I feel like whenever you start something, the universe tests you. And I've been on this journey for a really long time. And now the final battle, like in Super Mario, where you get in like the final evil, the final boss of my surrenderance journey is my parents. And it's so interesting how every single one of my siblings has left the house except me, who's the eldest. And I'm still sitting with these two people and they're still talking about the same problems that they were talking about like when I was 12. You know what I mean? So I want to be done with this, and I want to like get to a place where I'm just so peaceful that this no longer bothers me. Another thing I want to do is that I'm working on is just the partner thing and just surrenderance with my family. And then I'll talk about the partner thing in the next episode because I do feel like I have a belief about that too. I feel like when it comes to like relationships and things like this, again, there is a box that's out there, and a lot of people are feeding into this box, which is men are bad and women are this and this is that. And it's all because, to me, it's okay for people to explore and have opinions because they're all putting their input into that. I feel like I want to remove myself from the box and see what it is that I'm looking for, or what it is that is coming into my life, because whatever is coming into my life when it comes to relationships will be a projection of my inner state.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'll see like what kind of men I attract is based off of who I am. Yeah. So if I'm attracting bad men, it's because maybe I still need to work on who I am because I'm a bad woman. You know what I mean? No, so I feel like I'm just gonna like, that's my outlook on relationships. And Donna's talking about the fact that my sister has signed me up on a dating app. And yeah, I'm gonna go on what do you call it when like you date like 100 people?
No, she's just
speed dating.
She's dating. You're not gonna date 100 people, but you're casually dating.
No, I'll tell you my dating thing, my philosophy of dating. When it comes to philosophy of life, I feel like a lot of people think that life has not left outprints or a manual for us to look at, but that's not true. Nature is the best blueprint for how life should be lived. And whenever it comes to different situations and different concepts, I like to look at nature. And one of my best examples that I can give when it comes to dating is the bee theory. I have a bee theory. The bee theory is when the queen bee of the hive wants to select her partner, there's a race that's held and the queen bee starts flying upwards to the highest of highs that she can reach. And all the male bees follow suit. And whenever they get tired, random bees, male bees, just fall down. Mm-hmm. And eventually, the last bee that stays and flies right next to the queen gets to mate with her for that time. And that's how I'm dating. I'm going to date like 100 men or like whoever, 20, 25 men all at the same time. I've spoken to my therapist about this. And whenever there is no sexual interaction between those two people, there is no attachment. So you can go on dates. There is nothing being exchanged. It's just you getting to know people. And I'm going to get to know people like 50 different people at the same time. I'm going to talk to all these men at the same time, go out with them. But there will be no sexual interactions and there will be no exchange of goods and services in any way. When you subtract that from the idea of dating, what's end is just, in the end, you're just getting to know each other.
But that's what dating should be. I think people misunderstand the concept of dating. The concept of dating is getting to know someone. Some people do prefer to date more exclusively. If you've had a conversation with someone and you know that, okay, this is something more serious, then there's exclusivity.
That was probably created by men. They want to go for a test drive. You know how they buy cars and they want to test drive it?
But no one,
like, I don't think this car is for me.
But no one assumes that from the first date. And I think a lot of us, like, I don't know, for example, I agree with you because I used to have kind of the same philosophy in life of like, oh, if I like someone, I just like one person. And I think it was very more like men that had the opportunity and the access to date like multiple people at once. I do think it is healthy to go on dates to get to know people, especially if you're just trying to get to know yourself better, to see what you actually want, what you actually like, what you're looking for in a partner. And as long as the other person knows, like, obviously if you're going on a date for the first time, no one's expecting you to be exclusive to them. That's never how it works.
No, but I'll tell you next time we do a fun episode, I'll tell you my dating experiences till now, because I've been on a couple dates, and they all expect that. I feel like with
What do you mean? In what way? Like they expect that you're dating them seriously from day one?
From the beginning, or like there is some sort of interaction where like if they pay for your dinner, they almost like you owe something to them, but it's like you've asked me on that date. You know what I mean?
But that's just disrespectful, I think.
I feel like, but a lot of people's concept of dating, especially when it comes to men, is exactly that. They want to go for test drives and then end up marrying their cousins or somebody that they know for like 20 years. I feel like when I talked to my therapist about this, she was telling me, she was like, the entire rule to this B theory is honesty. I'm telling all these men that I'm talking to all 25 other people.
Yeah, exactly. That's my exact point. As long as it's clear and no one's feelings are gonna get hurt.
And I literally like I don't have time. Like I'm flying. You know.
But this is just called casual dating. Like you're not dating seriously. You're not. It's not like you're trying to meet your husband. You're just trying to explore what's out there.
I'm trying to meet. I've never wanted a husband. I've always wanted a divine partner.
Yeah, I'm just
like
saying,
a partner
like, in that way of like.
Yeah. I am trying to meet him. I'm trying to see people, because how else would I put myself
but
out there?
I always think it's funny that he's going to end up being none of those people. I can say that for certain.
You don't know.
Oh, I know.
No, don't be a fortune teller.
No, I'm not being a fortune telling. I'm saying based on experience.
You never know. I feel like once you, again, it's with healing. Once the door
I'm saying you're going to open this door. You're going to go on these dates. And then he's probably going to be someone that you meet very randomly somewhere
I feel like the intention is there. It's like with the business partner. My intention is to meet someone who's gonna be my business partner, and we'll see where it goes.
That's my point. I'm not saying you're not going to meet someone. I'm just saying I feel like it's not gonna be one of those people. It's gonna be like a random person that just like swoops in and.
That's your theory.
It's
respectfully,
respectfully.
That's your feelings about it.
But yeah, guys. Okay, wait. What's the outro? Should we do the outro? I can't.
You know what I want? I want people to give recommendations of how. Like I haven't dated for 10 years, and I want to know like how do I put myself out there. And maybe people will have like, I don't like dating apps.
Can I give you a word of advice?
It's like
by going
it's like
out,
swiping through like the trash.
You put yourself out there by leaving your house.
Yeah, but I'm
joking.
I don't have this. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
no.
It needs to suit my lifestyle.
Yeah, but that's what they always say. The best way to meet someone is to go to places and do
people tell me they're like, go to Kite Beach, bro. It has to fit my lifestyle. Like, what do you want me to do? Go sit in Kite Beach 24/7?
What's something you actually like doing? Like, you like horse riding, you like writing, go to a library, maybe stuff like that.
Also, another problem that I have is like my type doesn't exist in Dubai.
That's a belief. We're gonna get into that then.
Maybe if he's flying. Let's be honest. Can I say one other thing?
Say.
I hate it when people message me for collaboration and to work for them for free. Yeah. It's like, pay me my money. What do you mean? Like, I don't want to collaborate. I don't want more free stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so done. How do we live in the city of gold and everybody's looking for free collaborations?
All right, guys. So even though this was a fun episode,
I hope always, it was fun for somebody.
I don't think this was.
I feel like I overshared. I feel sick when I overshare.
Oh,
I feel like I shared more of my personal life than you did, and I'm like, what if I get scared?
You just talked about your parents, though. I've talked about my parents a lot.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just like a belief. It's like you feel like you overshared, and now you're open to being attacked or judged, and that's why you feel rattled, and then. Because you're sitting right in front of me, the first person that I look at is like a comparison of how much did she share? Does she feel the same resonance as I do? Like, are we on the same page? But I know you've talked about your family all the time. I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. But yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay to share. And I'm a chronic oversharer. I just share it in different places. Go on my Instagram.
We just have to get used to it. And I feel like with time, we'll get more comfortable because sharing is scary.
Yeah, of course it is, because you're making yourself vulnerable. You're exposing yourself.
It's even sharing with a therapist is even scary.
Yeah.
Yet alone the world, or like this is gonna exist in the meta
universe forever.
Forever.
There's a record of it.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Anyways, guys, we're gonna end the podcast here. We hope you all enjoyed it. As always, we like to end with a question. Today's question is going to be, what topics do you guys want us to talk about on the upcoming podcasts? And also, if you have any questions or things that you want to ask us that you think we could potentially give advice on, not because we're experts at giving advice, but just because it's fun and it's a nice way for us to dive into new topics and analyze things. So leave those in the comments below. As always, it is not about having the perfect answer. It is about reaching, knowing, and remembering that what we seek is also seeking us. Thank you.